Hello everyone and welcome to Divine Debut. This is Kathy speaking. This is your Astro Today update, everyone. Hope that you're all doing well. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing and commenting. I'd love to hear your comments, obviously, on what's going on in the astrology. How did you go with that total solar eclipse, which happened yesterday in the sign of Sagittarius? A new moon, which means we set our intentions, we send our wishes out to spirit. Because this was happening yesterday on the 23rd degree, if it was your birthday yesterday, and I'm going to say even today and tomorrow or a couple of days before that, obviously this eclipse is very important for you as it's touching on your sun, which means, wow, the next year or so is going to be very changeable, very transformative, very life-changing. Okay, dear Sagittarius, so I'd like to wish you a happy birthday. Okay, a new moon and an eclipse at the same time means that it's very amplified. An eclipse is a major celestial event. And I want to wish you well. Okay, love to see that eclipse is now gone, even though we will be referencing it even next year, because the 23rd degree of Sagittarius, that when it will be touched upon by Mars, it will be, it's like scratching an old wound. So roughly end of March, early April next year, and end of August, early September will be when Mars will be right across and also in a square to this eclipse. So we will be having repercussions, references to this eclipse now. Now, we know that eclipses are so important because they're all about eclipsing something out of our life. Obviously, this eclipse is right on the south node, which means we're eclipsing something fated, something outworn, lived in our life. We're shedding the old to make space for the new. Okay, now Mercury is also here, which we know Mercury rules Gemini, so the sign opposite Sagittarius, and it also rules Virgo. So this is obviously the eclipses have been happening now, as they always happen, near the nodes, the nodal axis, so it's mutable signs that are mainly affected. So mutable signs, the mutable cross, as you can see this red line here, okay, and this the mutable signs here, Pisces and Virgo. This is the mutable cross, which will be affected mostly by this solar eclipse, this total solar eclipse. So shedding the old to make space for the new. Remember, it's a new beginning. Okay, now Mercury being here as well. Mercury rules, as I said, Virgo and Gemini. So it's dealings to do with health, our daily routine, our pets. Mercury is also the communicator. It's the child. It's the business person. Remember that Mercury rules Gemini. So Gemini is all about collaboration on a small level, dealing with people close to you in your area, your closest environment, your siblings, your neighbors, right? And Mercury is also the trickster. Don't forget that it's the logic, it's the left brain. Has there been logic to holding on to something? If there hasn't been, then you are shedding something to do with the past. It's a karmic south node, and it's a karmic purge, everyone. So remember that Sagittarius is also our ideas, our truth. It's the law. It's our philosophy. It's freedom, the freedom to be able to communicate truthfully, to speak our truth, to shed old beliefs, those ideas that we grew up with. Remember that opposite Sagittarius is the student, and here is the teacher. Now we're taking on the place of the teacher as we're growing. We're growing, we're becoming the philosophers, we're becoming the teachers. Okay, some of us could be taught a harsh lesson if we have not been doing the right thing. So what I mean by that is shedding the old and not carrying that dead weight with us. If we haven't been able to shed something that was not working for us anymore, something that we need to grow from, then that's why we have eclipses. That this is spirit saying that this will be taken away from you because it's not doing you it's not doing you any justice. Because yes, Sagittarius is the law, and we know that the law can be dealing with justice. Has there been justice? That's why, remember that Jupiter also, Jupiter is justice. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And that's why I'm saying, if someone or something hasn't been doing you justice, it needs to leave your life. Now, what's interesting, let's leave that and let's go on to Venus at the 29th. Look, she's 4 minutes away from entering the sign of Sagittarius. Venus in Scorpio, we know she's very deep, she's very dark, she needs penetration, she's very powerful too. She needs that emotional connection, that deep sexual intimacy. Now she's changing, her energy will change in the sign of Sagittarius as she's going to become much more expansive, much more jovial, optimistic, much more fun-loving. Remember that Sagittarius is a mutable sign, but it's also a fire sign, which means fire is action, it's, it's passion, it's creativity, but it's also mutable. She's not as heavy as she is in Scorpio, because Scorpio is fixed energy. And we had Juno, remember the wife of Jupiter. She's in Scorpio too, very close to, she's at the 29th degree now, that anaretic degree, which means she's had the experience of transiting and doing what she needs to do in the sign of Scorpio. Now she's ready. It's very, very much about relationships, commitments, right? Both Juno and Venus entering the sign of Sagittarius, beautiful energies. There's a major shift. We're leaving the Scorpio era that we've just lived through recently. Remember, Mercury was also retrograding in Scorpio and Libra. Now Mercury, poor Mercury, what Mercury's been through. And when we talk about Mercury, we're talking about Virgo people and Gemini people. So what Virgo and Gemini people have been through. Now, remember, as I was saying, that Mercury transiting through Scorpio, retrograding there, as Mercury had reached that 11th degree. The 11th degree is like a portal for me. 1111. Even the Four of Wands, if you think of the tarot, it's 1111. And that talks about stability, marriage, being stable, feeling secure within a home. I mean, if you look at the Four of Wands, it looks like a home, doesn't it? It's all about family. It's all about feeling safe and secure with what we're creating, whether it's something to do with our money, our vocation, our livelihood. So remember, the wife of Jupiter is about to enter the sign of Jupiter. So this is Zeus. Okay, this is the king of the gods. So the energies will be changing. Now Mercury is very close to the king, as I call the sun always. We've got the father and the child. And of course the sun is almost, in 6 days, will be entering the sign of Capricorn, and it will be Capricorn season. Remember that the sun is the soul. It's also our livelihood. It's our health. It's our love. Remember, it rules Leo. And Leo is all about generosity. I mean, the king and his messenger are very close to entering the sign of Capricorn, and they will be moving through the sign of Capricorn. We know that the whole of 2020 has been a major challenge. And what is the challenge for all of us? It's going to be on a different scale. Collectively, yes, very challenging, but also personally for each and every one of us. So I always see that, and I feel that when when we have the return of a certain planet coming back to a certain place, it does reference back to the year before. And when I talk about a planet, in this case, I'm talking about the sun. Because if you think of the last Capricorn season, so the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, we knew 2020 was going to be unbelievably difficult and transformative. We didn't know what it was all about, though. And therefore, I feel that with the sun moving into the sign of Capricorn, we're going back to square one. But don't be frightened now. Don't get a shock at what I'm saying. I'm saying that it will be referencing back to that time. I'm not saying that it will be as dark and as bleak as it was. First of all, because, and most importantly, is that what is going on in Capricorn, what has been going on here, is shifting because Jupiter and Saturn are going to move into Aquarius. Let me show you that, but in a moment. I just wanted to say, first of all, so we're having the ingress of Venus in Sagittarius, positivity number 1. Positivity number 2 is that Chiron, that open wound in the sign of Aries, okay, the wound of thyself, as I call it, Chiron has been retrograding since July, since mid-year of 2020. Now it is ready to move direct. Probably when you're watching this video, if you're one of the first to watch it, obviously, Chiron will have changed direction. So it's obviously stationed in the sky now. It's not movement. So it's very potent. That open wound, the wound from our beloved people, from our romantic partnerships, okay, from our family, from any situation. Everyone is on a different path, on a different timeline, people. Of course, Chiron in Aries for each of you will be in a different position. It will be touching on your lives in a different area of life. That's what I'm trying to say. And it deals, well, we'd have to look at your natal chart so that we could tell you where this area is and how it affects you, because we're all born with Chiron in our chart in some area. Now here it's in Aries, so Aries is the warrior. Remember, it's ruled by Mars. And you also remember that Mars has been retrograding for quite some time. So the second part of 2020 was with Mars retrograding up and down in the sign of Aries in its home, which, wow, even with Chiron retrograde and Mars retrograding, it's as though we've been trying to move forward but not being able to, because just like that Four of Swords, the warrior was wounded and he needed to heal before he could move on. Take that Ace of Swords, his clarity, his tool, his truth, and move forward. Remember that the Four of Swords comes after the Three of Swords, so there's been a heartbreak, there's been a disappointment. That's why Chiron and Mars have been retrograding in the sign of Aries. That's what it's talking about in the second part of 2020. So as I was saying, Chiron is now going to move direct. He will take a little bit of time to start, that forward momentum. Okay. Now also, as I have told you, in the astrology update for the eclipse that I mentioned beforehand, Chiron is a centaur, half man, half horse, and so is Sagittarius. So there is a link between these two. And this eclipse happened at the 23rd degree, which is the degree that Chiron loves to be at. So we need to shed those past life traumas, those self-worth issues, that you're not good enough, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not being loved. I can't move forward on this brand new journey. Remember that Chiron is a healer. It is a healer. He was the spirit man. He was the medicine man in mythology, which is talking about healing physical wounds, spiritual wounds, psychological and emotional wounds. So he will be moving direct. The warrior is going to come out of his slumber. Mars, once he touches the 25th degree, will be out of his shadow phase, and therefore he'll be free to move. He's picking up pace. He's moving quite fast. And Mars was also in a trine to this eclipse. Remember that also Mercury is here. So look at they're exactly in a trine. Mars and Mercury. Now, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. It is the ancient ruling planet of Scorpio. So obviously Aries and Scorpio have also been affected with this eclipse in a trine, and a trine is very positive. So Mercury, as I mentioned before, it's all about communication. Mars is wanting to move forward. Remember, it's cardinal energy. It's like, I need to take action, but can we have this important conversation, says Mercury, because he's also communicating with a king. Remember that Mercury travels very closely to the sun, and the sun is all about clarity. It rules Leo, and Leo also rules children. So there's a lot to do with something being eclipsed out, something that was not healthy. And I'm going to say healthy because remember that Mercury also rules Virgo, the house of health. So there is a meeting here, the father and the son, before very soon they're going to move into Capricorn. As I said, we're revisiting the past. Around about the same time last year. But Jupiter and Saturn now will be out of the sign of Capricorn, and they will be much lighter in the sign of Aquarius. So with these two, Jupiter and Saturn, moving into Aquarius, things are going to be quite different. Now, what I see here is this mutable cross, okay? The mutable signs. We've got the hearth of the home, Vesta. Vesta is that nurturing, providing energy. It's feeling warm, feeling snug, feeling loved. Remember that fire that keeps burning. Fire means creativity. It means desire. And having Vesta in the sign of Virgo, Virgo is, even in the tarot, she is Virgo. I'm saying she because she's a virgin. She's earth, so she's the divine feminine energy. So she is the mother, she is the nurturer. She will provide the hearth to the home. And she is the minor arcana of the Empress. But she's also right opposite. She's in opposition to Neptune. And Neptune in its home sign of Pisces, can be deception. It can be misunderstandings. Remember that Virgo is I provide the service. Pisces is I sacrifice a lot. Remember with the hanging man, Pisces can turn into the doormat. Sorry, dear Pisces, love you so much. You're unconditional loving, but sometimes people tend to take advantage of you. If you've nurtured and loved others, dear Pisces, to the point of being trodden on and used, it's time for you to wake up from that slumber. Yes, you are divine. You always say we are all one. But remember that Virgo is a very good detective as well. Virgo is of service to others, but Virgo is very good at looking at those things that are hidden in between the lines, things that have not been communicated, messages, information that has been left out on purpose. Now, this could also be, in opposition means there's a bit of a tug of war. So the perfect solution to this, because this is also spiritual, very spiritual. There's a sense of, and I'm going to say, Mother Mary, the divine spirit, bringing nurturing to the hearth and to the home, a motherly love that has got her wings wide open to love and nurture and to provide for all. So, Mother Gaia, I'm going to say also the earth. Remember that this is an earth sign. Now, we've got a square here. As you can see, we've got a square from Vesta all the way to the eclipse energies here, to Neptune, from Neptune to the North Node, from the North Node to the sign, to the asteroid Vesta. Again, it's transiting the house of Virgo. So providing a service. Remember, Virgo is also our health. So all these squares here are talking about turning a corner. Remember that being in a square to the eclipse degrees here means that something needs to be shed. If there hasn't been a love, a nurturing, a providing, something has to change. Remember that a square is that turning a corner. Change is necessary. Instead of being stagnant, remember those stagnant waters. Anything that does not move is unhealthy. And yes, we've got a T-square here, which is like a pressure cooker, the pressure building, and another T-square here, which, when we look at a T-square, so we look at this triangle here, an opposition with two squares on both sides. Neptune is connected to this eclipse, okay? And so is Vesta. What is opposite to this T-square is the North Node. So we need to grow into the North Node. What is Gemini? It's collaborating, doing business with people close to us in our environment, siblings, neighbors, our fate. This is our fate. This is our calling. Gemini is also needing to make a decision. It's the twins. It is very curious. It needs to know. It looks at both sides. Gemini is also a lot. It's very youthful energy. Okay, those of you that have got Gemini rising, a lot of you are very youthful looking. Gemini is like a child. And Gemini is also, remember, it's the student. Yes, it's the child. It's also movement, moving close in your environment, not let's say worldly, transportation at this time with the lockdown and what's going on in the world. It's all about doing business with people around you, being close to your neighbors, being close to your environment. So it's all about not flight travel, but short distance travel, traveling by cars. Anything that is mobile is Gemini. Your cell phone, any gadgets. And we also talk about the internet. Mercury is also the internet. Now with Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius, which Aquarius is the ethers, it's that 2020 vision. It's the house of wishes and dreams. It's also very futuristic, but it's also the internet. Remember that Aquarius is depicted by the star in the tarot, which means something is, that bright star, and there has been also a reference of Jupiter and Saturn moving into the sign of Aquarius, as these two will conjoin together in the sign of Aquarius. That means they're referencing it to it as the Star of Bethlehem back then when Christ was born, and the three magicians, the three wise men. Well, I'm saying magicians, I interpreted it the way we speak of it in Greek, but the three wise men following that bright star towards, and they were led to Jesus. That's what the reference is with these two conjoining. And if you go outside, you can actually see them. You can see Kronos, Saturn, and Jupiter, Zeus conjoining. Let me show you as they will be moving direct, as you could see. So on the 16th of December, look at how close they are. Okay, so of course the moon moves faster than all the planets that we've got here. As you can see, at 0 degrees and 2 minutes is Saturn, who dips his toes into Aquarius. He actually He actually rules Aquarius. He is the ancient ruler of Aquarius. The most recent ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, okay? And it's interesting that we've also got a square with Saturn now having moved into Aquarius on the 17th and squaring Uranus, the ruler of the 11th house of Aquarius. So remember that Saturn is the old, it's the traditional. In Aquarius, because Saturn is the boss, he's the general, he's the government. We've got the government or the stern teacher amongst the people, because Aquarius is the people. Remember that the restrictions and the limitations of Saturn in Aquarius will be lightening up. But there is a square here. It's like turning a corner here. Remember that a square is not easy. It's 90 degrees. And Jupiter, of course, will be moving. Let's go another day forward. So on the 18th, on the 19th, and here they are. They're conjoining both at 0 degrees. So this is 2 days before the solstice, everyone. Wow, let's go to the 20th, 21st. Look at that. So on the solstice, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's the winter solstice. In the southern hemisphere, it's the summer solstice. And they're together. This is the jovial, lucky, good teacher, the philosopher, conjoining with the limiting, strict, Saturnian, karmic energy. But there is a sense of relief because Jupiter and Saturn are both much lighter here. But I will be doing a video on that. So look out for that, everyone. I will be going into more details. Okay, so that's why at this time it's very, very important what's going on. And look at that. Juno will also be at 0 degrees, almost 1 degree. So in a sextile to these massive planets in the sign of Aquarius. Lovely to see. So what is Aquarius? It's a fixed sign. So what are the fixed signs? We've got Aquarius, Leo. We have what is the fixed sign. We've got Taurus and Scorpio. So this will be bringing many changes to the fixed cross. So the 4 signs that are fixed. Okay. So it's very exciting. I must say, very, very exciting. Look at all that red. Just looking at all that red on your screen is saying that this time is very changeable. There are difficult energies, but we're coming out of the storm, the hurricane, the darkness, just like I've been saying in my tarot readings, 10 of Swords, we can actually see the light breaking in the distance, okay? Okay, and one last thing, let's go back to the now. One last thing that I wanted to mention is that Venus, just before she moves into Sagittarius, actually in 4 days, so let's go 4 days. So here we are. Look at that Chiron. Look at that trine. Chiron is trining over to Venus. Juno is not far off. So this is helpful energy where that wounded warrior is concerned. Now soon, you know, Venus will be moving quite fast in the sign of Sagittarius. She will be coming up to touch the degree of the eclipse. So it will be still, it's going to be very important, right? So she will be at the 23rd degree. She will be in a beautiful trine. Well, let's go forward a little bit just quickly and see. So let's see when Venus will be. Wow. So she's practically at the eclipse point here, but Mars is now at 27, as you could see on the 1st of January. Let's have a look. How close will these lovers get? Wow. Well, this is close enough for me. I mean, 29th degree, very, very strong degree here for Mars. And Venus at the 26th, practically at the galactic center. Look at that. 28. Yeah, well, they're coming. I mean, they will be in a trine, but they're not going to be exact when Mars will move into Taurus. And remember that Venus, she rules Taurus, so very important time where love is concerned. But as I was saying, I mean, and I'm finishing up, that now in about 4 days, 3-4 days, the sun will be on the galactic center, which is that opening to the universe. So a very important point, everyone, with the sun and Mercury. This is like, look out for signs and synchronicities, messages coming through from Spirit. So as I said, a very, very exciting time, everyone. I do hope that this gave you a little bit of clarity. And I feel that, I'm going to tell you all that I feel that from end of February, because I know that collectively a lot is still going on in the world. What's going on in the US is quite, it's quite worrisome. And of course, we always have to think positively. Let's hope that coming through that birth canal won't be as traumatizing, because usually when a child is born, it comes out traumatized, out, you know, to life. It's traumatized. Going through that birth canal is not easy. But I feel that from February, from the end of February onwards, I feel that it will be much more smooth sailing. I feel that we're, you know, moving into a new chapter. Today, the tarot reading was amazing. You need to go and watch it. 4 Aces, incredible reading. So it's all about new beginnings, but to have those new beginnings, we need to shed the old karma, okay? So I will leave you with that, everyone. I want to thank you so much, so much. Please share this video. Write me your comments, leave me a like, even if, I mean, something was confusing to you. If I can and I have time, I will try and bring you clarity. For those of you that are waiting on personal readings, thank you so much for your patience and your understanding, and I'm just wishing you all well. Okay, lots of love, lots of light. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Stay well, stay blessed. Talk to you soon.